Hello, welcome to a new week. I don't know what I want to do this week necessarily. I have a couple of small, little, tiny project ideas, but they're not working out the way I'd like them to. It's just turning into a week where my brain is just like, I don't know what I want to be doing. So this might be just a quick little work in the shop for a little bit here. It's already Monday morning. So I lost the whole weekend already because there was a horse show. Not one that we participated in, but it was the Spruce Meadows Masters, so big jumping tournament. So we went to that, had a lot of fun. That stuff's just crazy. Like, I know it seems boring when you like watch it on TV or whatever, but they do some. There's a new record broken for Spruce Meadows this weekend for the 6-bar, and that's just crazy. If you don't know what a 6-bar is in horse jumping, you should look it up. It's pretty nuts. They put up 6 jumps, and then they have people the participants, they jump all 6 jumps, and then if anybody fails, they're eliminated. And then the next round they increase the size of the jumps until there's a winner, or until I think it's 5 rounds are done. And then they just increase the jump size, and the record, just for Spruce Meadows, not the world record, but the Spruce Meadows record was broken this weekend. And they jumped 2.13 meters high, which I don't know what that is in feet. That's this high. They jumped over a pole this high. They jumped over a jump that high, which is nuts. I'm not used to being able to see how high, like having to look up to a jump, even at Spruce Meadows. Most of the time we watch 1.6s, which is generally near the highest for professional jumping. 1.6, which is here, which is still nuts, shoulder height for me. Yeah, the fact that I have to look up if I want to go and see that jump is crazy to me. I don't have to look up very much in this world. So that was fun. And then while we were there, I was just thinking about what I should do in the shop this week. And then I've been trying a couple of things here and there. Before I turned the camera on, I wanted to see if I had just a fledged idea out, and I really don't. And so this week might be boring. I don't know if I'll have a project to finish. But we'll see what I can get through and whatnot. Anyway, what I'm thinking about doing is making some moons and stars. I think that's a really cool fall, wintry type of vibe to it. And I wanted to make like a bigger moon. And I thought, I'll just make it out of rasps. And then I realized rasps get really small when you start curving them. So if you look at the size of a regular rasp, this is why my brain was like, well, this one's gnarly. Anyway, this one's really rusty and gross. But this is how high a regular rasp is with the tang and everything on it. And then when I curved it and cut the tang off, this is what I ended up with. And so I was like, it's really small. I mean, I can make small stuff. That's fine. But I wanted like things to be kind of similar in size. I wanted the moon to be bigger than the stars. And trying to make a small star out of a horseshoe or multiple horseshoes is kind of nuts in the effort it takes. And everything else involved. Anyway, so I made this, I cut these rasps and I made these things, and I'm going to have this rasp sit just inside of this guy or just outside, and then we'll throw a welding bead. I'm running out of wire for the welding, so I'm going to have to run out and get that. But I figure if I could do something like this and get that crescent moon going, that'd be okay. And then maybe I can like just maybe weld a couple of things in there to make it look kind of neat and cool. I saw something like that on a page I follow on Facebook. It's called Scrap Metal Art. Started following that page, and it's pretty cool. I think I posted the horseshoe on it, but they haven't approved the post yet, so I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so I think I could probably do something cool with this. Just be a small moon. So how do I get the stars to be small? So I started, I'm like, what if I just make a small point, and then I make another small point, then I'll just make the points and then connect them that way. And then I just realized I'm gonna have to cut a crap ton of horseshoes in order to do this, and I don't want to keep cutting so much stuff. The rasps are a different story. Cutting the tangs off makes sense, but other than that, I don't want to necessarily always just cut everything just to get there. I'd rather forge most of it if I can. And so, but in order to get another point out of this, it'd have to come back on itself like pretty good. If I squeeze it together really tight, and then I make the points really small, like maybe I try a different shoe, and then I just keep making small points, but it's really hard to do the backwards bend if I'm already, like, if something is already bent. So I might just keep trying to work with this guy. But I put there's a crack in it, so that's probably why I'll keep working on it. But I figured, hey, if that's like the top of the star, and then I get, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what I can do to make a star. I don't know. I'd have to use a really big shoe and then make a really small star out of it. It's not like the hearts, where the hearts just become, I'm just going to end up making Lucky Charms. Hearts, stars, clovers, something, hearts, stars, and clovers, rainbows and blue moon. I'm not getting rainbows, and moons. Hearts, stars. I'm not going to make clover either. We'll just make we'll make half of the Lucky Charm. But yeah, so the moon, we'll finish that guy off when I can. I'm gonna have to grind. I might put this small the inside piece back in the forge and just round off the edges instead of necessarily grinding it, and see if I can adapt that skill. But then we'll weld them together in some fashion. And from there, we'll figure out how the moon's going to stand and do its thing. I was thinking about putting little sticks on the bottom of it with stands so they can hold each other up. I could do that with horseshoes. I don't know. And then I thought, oh, what if I put it this way? It's a bird, like you used to draw when you were a kid, just little seagulls. Anyway, and then over here, I don't know if they're probably still too warm. I thought also, well, what if it's still a little warm. What if I make the inside bend of the star maybe it will but it's still going to be a massive star, and it will look, I had an idea of what it looked like, but it was really not great. But if I make the inside part of this, like if I was going to do the inside bends of the star like this, and then just do 5 of those, and then I could just make the stars out of that. That's why I have these three shoes that I cut the clips off of already, so I could try to finish this star. But that's a big star, and it's like skinny, I guess. It looks like starfish. It looks like a starfish more than just a star, but I think I could probably make that work, but I'm not sure. I don't think I'm ready to make like Christmas decor yet. I haven't thought of any other fall decor to make, but I'm having fun making little decor items. Like the horseshoe and the cube, they're not little, but they're small enough, and they were a lot of fun to make. And I thought about like just making another cube and then putting something else on it or in it. And I was like, I only want to make more of them if people want them, because I don't want to have, because if I end up keeping all this stuff in some fashion, I'm gonna probably want to have a variety of things. Or they can be gifts, that kind of thing. But the star is really vexing me right now. And so I might make a couple more hearts just to go with the items, and then when hopefully I have something more concrete to make for this week when we come back. But this star I'll probably just finish and see how big it really is. It's going to be huge. It's just going to be big. And then we'll put it together. We'll put the moon together, because this is just a massive star. Compared to the moon, it's massive. So unless I figure out a way to make the moon make a moon bigger, I don't know. I just have all these weird ideas, and I don't know what to do with them. So I'm just gonna bang metal and see what comes of it. But I'm gonna probably run out here and go get some welding wire, and figure out what I want to be doing. I'm sure there's something that we'll do this week that we'll finish up, but as it stands right now, my brain is foggy. So stay tuned, and we'll finish a project this week. We'll finish a project this week. If it's just the moon and star or whatever, that we'll finish it. But yeah. Oh, I also wanted to mention this. Sorry. I've thought about making a star out of rasps, and I wanted to fold the rasp, just fold it in half, but not entirely. So it was just folded this way a bit, and then use that. So if they were folded together, and then we would make the tips of the stars out of the rasp like that. I thought that'd be really cool. But I don't have a vise big enough to bend this rasp without warping it. And then trying to straighten it after it's bent would be really, really hard. I did try. I just cut a line into the center. Not a very straight line. Look at that. And then I was just going to fold along that line, which I don't think is that. I think that's probably the correct way to do it. And then if I could fold this, I could cut these rasps into just smaller pieces to make the star when they had their bends in. I wonder if I cut the rasp and then put the bends in, if it might just be easier. I have the small little bench vise on the bench over here that I could do it on. But again, I don't want to put too many hammer marks on the one side of the rasp, because that's the part of the rasp that looks the coolest. And so I'm still thinking about how to do that, is where my brain's at. So yeah, those are my small little projects for this week that I've just been trying to think about how to do. And I'll just keep thinking about it, and we'll come back and hopefully we have something put together and something to show when we come back. All right, hello, how are you? Just a quick little update. It's already Wednesday morning, and I haven't dealt with the moon or stars at all. I haven't done any of that kind of stuff. I actually still haven't picked up a welding wire yet. I said I was going to go do that right away on Monday, but then things got out of hand. Well, not out of hand. They just got busy. That's all. But anyway, and then Courtney asked me to make another sign for one of her clients. The horse's name is Gunner, and so I slapped this guy together pretty quick. And the unique thing about this thing obviously, is that I used lowercase letters, except for the G. And the reason why I did that is this horse in particular is more of a Western shod hunter or shod horse. So he Gunner gets sliding plates, which is something that you only use in the Western world, and you only use it for, I can't remember the type of discipline. But they use sliding plates, so they're just very, very flat, smooth shoes that go on the hind feet of the horse, and it allows the back end to slide. And so it's, I don't know the purpose necessarily, other than it looks kind of fun. Anyway, and so I had to whip this guy together, and as I was like, and I just, when she asked me to do it, I was already kind of in the shop. I was watching the baseball game or something, and I was just like, okay, and I just started getting right into it, and I just didn't turn the camera on. I just was like, I'm just gonna make it quick, and it took me probably just a couple hours, and I don't have any footage of me making it, which is unfortunate. The only thing that was really any kind of issue, like obviously the U and the N's were the problem. And the reason why we went with lowercase letter is because these two N's, lowercase N's, these are the sliding plates, and I didn't alter them at all. All I did was brush them and clean them, and then give them a top coat, and then they just got welded to the rest of the piece. Every other shoe got forged and adjusted in some way. The U got spread out and elongated. The G took a little while because I tried to do a G without having to add that little piece and all that kind of stuff. I think it came out pretty well. It still kind of looks like a 6, but in the context of this whole thing, it's got a little bit of a yellow tinge to it too, which is crazy. But anyway, in this context, it looks fine. This little E, that just took too long, and there was no shot for me to make it taller. I was really trying to make it taller, but if I made it taller, then it'd be skinnier, and I just ended up with the way it is now. I think it was all right. And then the R here, the lowercase r I struggled with it a little bit, but you can see that I did a cut and a weld to get this guy together. The first cut and weld I did split apart as soon as I put it back in the forge to flatten it out again. But the second one, it held pretty good, but I did do tacks on the sides here. I didn't grind any of the welds down at all. And the first two over here are the gnarliest. The other ones seem to be working really, really well. Yeah, I didn't do any grinding of any of the welds, which is progress for me. So, but yeah, doing the lowercase r doing an uppercase R is sucky, but doing a lowercase r is a little bit tricksy. But anyway, it's something I can work on or continue to do like this. It's great. So yeah, the reason why she asked me to make that is because we're going to actually go and see this horse today. And it's probably one of the more unique horses that Courtney does. She doesn't do Western anything very often. She doesn't do horses that have Western disciplines very often. So this is the only horse she does that has sliding plates. And so she thought it would be pretty cool to make something out of her sliding plates for her. And this is what I made. So yeah, so we'll come back again and figure out some of the smaller projects or whatever else we want to do. But I wanted to catch you guys up before we headed out this morning for work. That I made another lettered sign, and I like it. Another change of plans. I've just been I was thinking, and I wasn't just happy with everything I had going on. And so I was just laying there thinking, and sometimes I'm like scared to try something a little bit more ambitious. So I try to do things that are like what I feel might be fairly simple for me to do. Like the horseshoe and the cube were kind of complex in the way that they were put together. But again, like it's just welding horseshoes together in just a pattern. And then there's like, because I didn't really adjust the horseshoes too much. And then the same thing with the cube. It was the only difficult part was the hearts and the circles. Everything else was pretty much just measure, cut, and weld, which was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I did like it, and I'll probably do more of it. But one of the things I want to do is just try my hand at some more complex things. And so I think birds are awesome. I think all forms of birds are pretty awesome. Some of them are irritating and a nuisance and all that kind of stuff, but birds are awesome. My favorite animal in the world is a bald eagle, or there's a red eagle, and those things are really cool. But I like eagles, and I like birds of prey, like big birds. Not necessarily like geese and stuff. Those are big birds, and they're cool. I like them, but they're not as cool. And so what I think I'm going to try to do is build me a bird. And this is going to take probably a lot of time, a lot of my brain power, and a lot of effort, so it's probably not going to be finished in this video. We did finish the gunner sign, which came out great, so we did finish something this week, which is awesome. It was already Thursday and afternoon, so I'm trying my best to just manage my time a little bit while I'm in the shop. I have almost all day in the shop today, and so what I'm going to do here is try to figure out certain parts. I think I want to do whatever wings we're going to do. I think I'm going to do those first. And obviously, I think a spanned wing is probably the best way to go. And I just want to make 2 wings that are the same, just opposite sides. And so I spent a little bit of time quickly yesterday, and I just straightened out a couple of big size 4 shoes, 2 hinds and 2 fronts. And they came out almost identical anyway. This one needs to be cleaned up, which I'll do. And what I want to do is I'll show you the picture of the eagle here that I'm going to base this off of. But I'm also going to walk over to the camera really quick with it, just so I can point at it and whatnot. Oops. Hang on. All right. So this is like the cartoon version of the bird that I was showing. And what I want to try to do is making this, the front part of the wing out of the elongated horseshoes. And I don't know how big I want to make these wings just yet. All of the feathers on the wing are going to be made out of rasp. So I'm going to have to figure out the proportions and the size difference between these things in order to make it at least proportional. And then there's the real life version of this. This is what I'm going to base the head and the body off of, right? And so like the wings will come from this guy, and the head and the body will kind of come from this guy, because I have an idea on how I want to do the head with the beak and stuff. And so when it comes to the body and the feet and the tail and stuff, that's going to be a little bit more complex for me. And I know the head's going to be complex, but I kind of already have an idea for that. But I want to get to the 2 wings done sooner than later, and that means turning all the rasps into feathers. And I'm not going to do too much to the rasp to do so. So remember, we're just going to try to do that front part and then turn the rasps into wings, and then try to get that attached. And so I don't know if I want the wing to be this big and then the eagle to be fairly small. So the sculpture would be roughly this size, which is pretty decent size, but that means the rasps were really, really big. The rasps were pretty big for this. So I might have to cut them down into smaller portions. And I think the talons and stuff are going to be made out of the tangs so that we can actually use those, which is pretty cool, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on the wings first. And so my original idea was to take 2 of these guys and weld them together. That's why I straighten them as much as I can. Just weld them together, but kind of in a V pattern, right? And then the main rasp wings would sit in there on whatever angle that they're supposed to be. This is my first idea. I don't know if I'm going to do this. But they would be able to sit in there, and it would give me kind of a how do I put this? It will give me a good guide to get the wings in. And then the top and bottom wings have to go over the other wings. So this is going to be heavy, but I'm going to try. And then that will give me also room to put more rasps on top of these rasps to make the second layer of wing or of feathers. But that means I have to cut all the tangs off. And then I have to, the ends of the, don't mind my gloves, by the way. I don't know how they keep, the right glove just keeps ripping crazy amounts. This will be my second pair in the last week and a half. And I have a feeling it's the grinding that's doing it. So I'm going to get a pair of gloves just for that. I bought an apron too. I'll talk about that. But yeah, so if I can do that, that's awesome. And I think that gives me a good front of the wing portion. Yeah, they're not perfectly flat together. I don't know, like there's probably an orientation that does it the best. And I might have to heat these up again just to get them flat together. Because I could probably just heat one of them up, put one on the anvil, clamp it down, and then heat one of them up and then slam them together so they meet up better. And then try to get this weld done in here. And then I'd have to heat them up again, I feel, so I could then put the bends in the wings that we would need. If we look at that picture again, so there's a couple of bends in the wing. So coming up here is just kind of an inward and then an outward kind of thing. I don't think I can do the whole thing with just one shoe unless the wing gets really small. So I thought about adding more to these. So maybe if I don't do the weld together thing, this could just be the front of the wing, and then I can add another one to it. But then that just makes this thing crazy long, unless I cut them and then put them together. So I'm really trying to figure out how I do that. And I think while I figure that out, the best thing for me to do is just start working on the rasps. So yeah, I'm gonna just start heating and pounding to make this a tip that does what I want it to do. It's gonna be interesting because the rasp, when it's hot, is gonna want to fold over on itself. So I have to just do it carefully and slowly. But I have a feeling I'll probably be able to get the first 7 rasps. This is only 6, so I need another one. But the first 7 rasps, we're going to probably get the tips done and then figure out how we're going to do this guy, whichever one I use, because it's got to sit up that way. And then we can bring the rasps into the thing. So we're going to have to either cut it off or cut it on an angle, because the outside ones are going to be angled and then they're going to slowly come into straighten themselves out over time. And we're going to want to make sure that the welds hold, because everything's going to be held almost all entirely on this guy to begin with until we can get the smaller feathers done. So yeah. So bear with me. I'm just gonna start going. I'll try to leave the camera rolling over the forge for as long as I can without running out of battery and space, because these kind of videos, if they're just long videos of forging, they take up a lot of space. Even my computer I've ran out of space on, so I have to get a external drive. I already have one that's already full, because every time I make a video, all of the raw footage and music and videos and sound, I put it all in one folder, and it's called whatever week that was, and then I put them onto that external drive that I got. I got a 1 terabyte drive, and that thing's full with the first whatever week we're on. I think I have 4 weeks on the computer, so that whatever before that is. I think it's 24 weeks or something like that. That's on that drive, and it's pretty much filled it up. So I'm gonna have to get another one of those, or figure out a better way to have storage for all my videos, or I just use the YouTube channel to store all the videos. I don't know. I haven't decided whether I delete any of that stuff or not. I don't feel right deleting it. You know, you put work into something and then delete it, it's weird. Anyway, so I'm just gonna get ready here to get all this stuff sorted. I'm gonna get another rasp, and I'm gonna try to start making wings, I think. But yeah, I'm just gonna put my head down and do it, so there probably won't be any commentary. So hopefully it works out for me, and we'll come back when we're about to put the wing together, I guess. All right. All right. So I've done a thing. Looks pretty good so far. Dare I say, maybe even a tiny bit better than I expected. It's the first time we've said that in this shop, I think. But we got this guy ready to go. The welds are not the best, but they're going to get covered anyway. I haven't decided whether I'm going to put a weld bead on the back either. That just might be just overkill. We are going to put a row of feathers on the back as well. So that would probably be strong enough to just hold it. Again, we don't want this to get ridiculously heavy. It's already going to be this weight times 3. And this is pretty gnarly already. I don't know if I'm like overdoing this. Like it's going to be really heavy. And so I got to just make sure that what I do to it just stays intact. But anyway, so I got that guy there, and then this guy just kind of fits over it. So we're going to kind of fit this guy over it. I decided against doing the double, again, because of the weight, and I don't think it needs it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bunch of rasps, probably ones that we're just going to use for the next wing anyway. They don't have to be perfect. I'm just kind of laying them out because they're just a platform for all these things. My original thought was do them one at a time into this thing, and then I was like, no, I'll just there we go, just like this. Now there is some gaps that I'm going to have to maybe try to fill with weld. That's actually a pretty big one. I could heat up the shoe again. Well, that closes them up pretty good, actually. Get as much stability here as possible. It's pretty good. We can tack there. We'll probably do a couple in the middle before we actually try to get a full weld bead across that top. I might run out of welding wire doing this, and so I might have to take a beat and figure out that new welding wire, see if it fits, or even go out and get some. But let's see what we can make of this. Some of it doesn't look like it's really done well, but we'll have to see. Yeah, there's a hole in that one, but I think, yeah, no, that's a nail hole. Same with that one. So that's okay. Huh. Maybe I'm not as bad. I mean, they don't look pretty, but... Huh. We are probably going to put a bead on the back as well, just because I wanted to give it that lift. So if I'm going to... Well, I guess I'll show you. So we'll see like that inside bead. It's just a little bubbly. A little bumpy here and there, but altogether, I think it will be good. And then we got our first layer of our first wing done. It's pretty heavy. I wish I could just explain to you guys how gnarly heavy this is. But I also I'm going to need to cut out all of the other feathers. I just realized. I mean, I wonder if I can cut them out from all of the pieces I have laying around. So we have the box of pieces, but a lot of them are cut on angles, and so, yeah. I'm sure I could find a couple. to be able to use. Too bad these ones have those lines cut in them, because that'd be a perfect size, I think. Yeah, that's the perfect size. And we just bring it all the way around. We're gonna have to do some cutting of the rasps again. I'd like to find something to use all these pieces on, so I think I'm going to put some extra effort into seeing if I can use these in this project. Like I said, I'm going to probably use the tangs. So, but a lot of these pieces, I don't know if I can use. So that sucks. There's got to be something I can make with them. In the future, maybe. Okay. Anyway, so now that that's done, we got to map out how the next row of feathers go. Got parts of my glove all over this thing. Okay. But yeah. Cutting the rasps initially, I'm going to use the big parts of the rasps to probably make some things over the body of the eagle. We're going to have to thin them out, elongate them, that kind of stuff to give an idea of maybe skinnier feathers along the body. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But that's how that's going to work. But yeah, cutting these down to size was fine. I just think I could be more efficient with it. And so it means I'm going to have to heat up a bunch more and round off the edges to make the feathers. Like these rounded edges didn't take very long for these 4 guys. Right? But these 3, they took a bit of effort. As you can see, like this one even has its bow still in it because I didn't hammer it flat well enough. But yeah, like these 3, to get them as pointy as possible. Like I could have got a little bit more, but it was seemingly difficult for me to get the pointiness done. So I stopped right there. But now I have to figure out where on these rasps are the new feathers going to be. Are they going to be a little angled to start like these ones and then come back across? So we'll just have another shorter layer of feathers just on the top here, which I think will look really good. And we'll do the same thing on the bottom. But I think the bottom, I'm going to use the bottom parts of the rasp, just so we can use more of the rasp up, as opposed to just having bottoms of rasps everywhere. So I'll probably spend some time rounding off more of these rasps, because once I cut them, then these rasps are going to be very difficult to turn into feathers. Well, more difficult. I don't know, very, but more difficult for sure. However, I think if we test it with one of these guys, now we put it on top of the weld, and if we put it on top of this weld, and then it comes out almost exactly to the top of the shoe. So we put a weld bead there, across the top of the shoe into the rasps, and then we'll use the flap disc to grind it down to a reasonable level. We're going to wire brush this the whole project after it's done, so I'm not worried about shiny versus the look we like or any of that kind of stuff. This whole thing is going to get brushed, so it's going to be more on the shiny side. If we decide to heat it up again after the fact, we'll use a smaller torch, and we'll just go over it and color it that way. Yeah, I think my next step is to just get these more of these feathers done. I'm probably not going to film that part because you saw through the sped up version that it was just a lot of hammering on the end of it. There's nothing fancy about it. It just took longer than I wanted it to. I think maybe my heats weren't as hot as they could be, so working the metal was a little harder. Yeah, so I'm gonna work on getting the second and third row of feathers done, because I could probably just do them back to back, and then we'll weld them on, and then and hopefully we'll have at least one wing done for the end of this video, if not both. So what I'm going to do for the second wing, so I'm just going to grab another shoe guy, and I'm going to bend it exactly the same way as the other one, and we'll measure everything from there just like this. We'll use this as a reference, obviously, and then everything will just be flipped over backwards. And then that will be the wingspan of our bird, and then we can figure out the body size and the head size from there. I think that's a good way to go. How I'm going to attach this to said body still remains to be seen, because I don't know what I'm doing. And again, I'm just worried about how heavy it is. And I know that these things get heavy. Like, I'm not ignorant to the fact that these horseshoe sculptures and metal sculptures get heavy. I just don't know if I'm confident enough in my ability to weld to keep it together. So, like, we know how heavy the horseshoe is. It's still pretty gnarly in the heavy department, but it just sits on the ground. It doesn't have any, like, the wings are going to be out kind of on their own. So unless I do, I've been trying to think about in the background of my brain on how the bird's going to be displayed. Like, am I going to just weld a stand onto it? Or do I make the talons or the feet sturdy enough for it to stand? But then I have to worry about balance. So I have a lot of thinking to do. I just want to put my head down and make feathers for a little while. So that's what I'm going to do. We still have to do tail feathers, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how it works out. But yeah. So yeah, give me a bit, and I'll try my best to get this wing done before this video. It's coming along pretty good. It's not the way I envisioned it necessarily, but then again, I didn't know what I was working on in my head. So you can see here that I've opted to use the bottom parts of these rasps I used for these feathers, and they're obviously not going to be as pristine because they have, when I pointed the ends in the forge, they collapsed on themselves and created these little dimples and stuff. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to use those. And then I thought about it for a little while, and I was like, well, feathers aren't perfect. Why wouldn't we have some character to them? So that's pretty good. The only problem is that we had 7 rasps that we used for the wing, and I needed 6 feathers here to finish off this part, maybe 7 if we have here. But this rasp and this rasp are cut so long that the leftover pieces were so short. So you can see this one, I used one of the shorter ones, and it ended up not having this filed texture look at the bottom of it. But I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I think maybe there'll be a strip of something that comes across here just to give it some definition. Something light, I hope, because I still have, this is heavy, and I still have the bottom to do as well. The bottom I'm not going to worry about as much in the sense of looks. I don't know what I'm going to do with the bottom yet. I don't know what I'm going to put on the bottom. So this guy might just sit done like this for a little while, and then we'll get the second one done, the second wing. Because this basically gives us what we're looking for in the grand scheme of things. We can add and tweak and make things look different or better or whatever have you from this. So I don't need to get all of the details right just now. This can get fully attached, and then I'm like, oh, this wants to be something else. And so there's that. And so while I was making those other feathers, I set up I got all of the rest of the rasps done for the second wing. Well, at least the first set of feathers for the second wing. And we're going to try to make it as similar as possible. Some of these feathers are a little bit more bent than the other. It's not going to be perfect. Like, they're not going to be identical, and I think that's part of the point. We want them the same size, but all the feathers and stuff, they're not going to be identical. And so they're going to have their own unique little style to it, which is good. So again, we'll probably just set this up. I'll probably get some measurements here for that one so I can get them at least roughly the same size. And then just go from there to get it into that side. That's probably the only thing I'll use on this wing is just make sure all the feathers are the same size, roughly within a half an inch or so would be ideal. And then so we don't have a balance or a symmetrical problem or any of that kind of stuff. So I got a load more cutting to do, and then we'll get the second wing welded up. At least we're going to try today. I have to go out. Today is the day that we do redo the shoes on our horses, and we have a trail ride tomorrow. My first one. I'm going to go my first trail ride with Potter tomorrow. So we're going to get their feet done today and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go and help get that taken care of. So then Potter is ready for his trail ride tomorrow. So I'm gonna spend a bunch of time. Today's Friday, and so today is the last day in the shop for this video. I'm gonna try my best to get that second wing, at least the first set of feathers, welded into it, and then we'll talk about what the rest of the eagle's gonna look like. But yeah, so I'll come back. We'll hit this back up when I have some more to show. But it's coming along. It's coming along. I have wings. Yeah, so if we just kind of hold them up, this one's kind of warm still, but there are some subtle differences between them, and they're pretty crazy. This one's much better. The first one's much better than the second one, in my opinion. I don't think that it will be that noticeable, once everything's said and done, I don't think anybody will be looking at the small little imperfections and stuff. This gets still pretty warm, so let's just be careful with that. But you can see I've made a couple of mistakes, welding mistakes on this guy, especially in the bead here. There's a lot of start-stopping on that one. Got a couple of gaps I might go back and fill in. This one is a little bulbous. But yeah, the measuring of the secondary wings was a little bit sketchy when I was doing it, because I was measuring it, but it was all backwards, and so it was just back and forth. Some of the smaller feathers here, the secondary feathers, some of these ones I did a little bit better than these ones, but like a couple of these ones are really gnarly compared to these ones. But again, I think the kind of beat up look and the chipped look on the ends and that kind of stuff kind of gives it a little bit more character. I might do something with the ends of the big feathers after everything's said and done, just to give it a little bit more oomph. One of the things I noticed is that the inside edges of these wings, this one has like, I don't know, just over 1/4 of an inch space, and this one here has got a good half inch space there. So the spacing between the feathers didn't go according to plan. It's probably my grinding and cutting of the feathers after I did it. They probably just weren't as narrow. But all of that being said, I'm pretty happy with how these have turned out so far. So like I got a bigger gap between the shoe and the first rasp on this one than I do on this one, but there is still a gap on it. So it's, I mean, I could just try to just heat up just this corner and bang the shoe over, but I don't think I'm going to put all that effort in. The other thing is I didn't do anything on the bottoms yet. Those are still pretty gnarly. I haven't figured it out. If I do another set of wings under there, fine, but I don't know if I want to, if that makes any sense. I don't know what I want to do with the tops of the wings here on the ends. I do want to cover up the welds a little bit. I used smaller welds on the top on this side than on this side. I think I'm going to wire wheel them all first, see what problems arise with that, and then deal with that. But that's going to be it for this week, because I just kind of ran out of time. Switching gears in the middle of the week really didn't help me out, and but I wanted to do something a little bit more intense, I guess. I do have some ideas on how I want to do the body of this project, and so we're going to start with that probably. I think we're going to put the wings to the side while my brain just lets them float around in there, and then we're going to work on probably the head and neck area of the eagle next, and then see how we do the body from there. I have a feeling the tail's going to be pretty easy, and yeah. So the tail's going to be pretty easy. I think the legs and the talons are going to be pretty hard. So those will be the last things that we do. Just because I might have to, if I make mistakes, I might have to redo it, take blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I want to have something, the proportions I want to nail down. And we're going to do that. We're going to do that next week. And hopefully we can finish the project within the next week. Because this is going to take a lot of effort, and with doing other things with the horses and working and all that kind of stuff, I don't have like 8 hours a day to spend in here. I assume that this probably will take at least 16 hours worth of work. I'm about halfway through now. I don't think I'm at 8 hours just yet, but I'm up there. Well, at least it's 6. So. Just forging the wings into points was but the feathers into points was harder than expected. So I think my technique, I got a big blister on my thumb, but I think my technique could use some work. Anyway, thanks for watching this week. I'm going to go throw these gloves out because they're bad. And we'll see you next week, and we'll try to finish up Birdie and see how it turns out.